Hey guys, how's it going? Karai here, and welcome to my Premier League predictions. I'm going to try and keep this one a bit shorter because I know that I ramble, but let's get into it. Starting off in last place, I have gone with Cardiff City. Now, Neil Warnock has been proven to be a very good manager at getting promotions. However, his record once promoted is not very good. Also, Cardiff just don't have a very good squad and they haven't strengthened much in this window, so therefore I think they will finish bottom of the Premier League. 19th place, I have gone with Huddersfield Town. Again, the bottom half of the table is usually extremely tight, so they could easily escape relegation, in my opinion. They've made a few good signings. David Wagner has been proven to be a pretty good manager as well in the Premier League. Again, they made a good few signings, but I think that the second season syndrome might hit them this season and they might go down. In 18th place, I have gone with Brighton and Hove Albion. Again, if they don't go down, I won't be at all surprised, but I've got them to go down just mainly because of second season syndrome and also because I've run through all the other teams and I just can't see any of them getting relegated, really. They've not made that many good signings. Obviously, from last season, they had Matthew Ryan in goal, which was a great addition for them and he really helped. But their main top scorer, Murray, is now 33. He's 33, he's getting on a bit, so will he be able to maintain his same sort of goal scoring consistency, which managed to get Brighton up the table initially? And I mean, if Huddersfield and Brighton, like last season, can get a really good start to the season, can beat some of the really better teams in the division, for example, when Huddersfield beat Manchester United, if they could do that again, then I can easily see them staying up. But if they don't get a good start to the season, then they might be in trouble. In 17th place, I have gone with Watford. Now, Watford, normally a sort of lower mid-table. I've got them to finish just above the relegation zone here because, to be honest, I think Javi Gracia will be sacked at some point. It's just the nature of Watford, I think he's a pretty good manager. He's come in and done quite well for them. But saying that, they've just lost Richarlison to Everton for £50 million. And also, if Doucouré doesn't turn up the same that he did last season, then they could be a bit more in trouble than they were last season, I think. Now, in 16th place, I have gone with Newcastle United. And again, I want to reiterate, the bottom of the table is usually extremely, extremely close. So any of these teams could finish, anywhere in sort of the bottom half of the table, below the top 10. But Newcastle, I think, will finish 16th. Rafa Benitez managed to get absolutely everything out of that squad last season to drag them up to 10th place. But I don't think he'll be able to do the same this season. I mean, he's a phenomenal manager, but I think there's just a lot of unrest at the club. They've barely brought anyone of real note in, of real quality that they need, and that Mike Ashley is just refusing to spend money. I don't get it what it is with that guy. He just refuses to spend any money at all. And Newcastle will really need it to stay up because a lot of their competitors have strengthened and made some really good signings. And Newcastle just haven't done that. And also now there's this row about unpaid bonuses that's coming out, so that could be a big factor. So there's just a lot of unrest at the club, which could maybe see them struggle this season. Now in 15th place, I have gone with our second promoted team, and I have gone with Fulham. They did relatively well in the Championship, pretty well, and they won the playoffs against Aston Villa. And since then, they've come into the Premier League. They've made some really, really quality signings, especially Jean-Michel Seri from Nice. I know he was linked to the likes of Arsenal and Chelsea, so the fact that Fulham have been able to pick him up is really, really good for them. Also, Andre Schürrle. He's not had a great few seasons, but he is a proven World Cup winner, and he scored a lot of goals in that 2014 World Cup where Germany won. So I think if he can unlock that quality and that potential that wasn't found at Dortmund, then I think he can really, really have a good campaign and get a lot of goals for Fulham. And Ryan Sessegnon as well, if he performs well, then Fulham could be in for a pretty decent season by their standards. Now in 14th place, I have gone with Bournemouth. Eddie Howe's side seemed to finish around that place. I think they finished 12th or 13th last season, so they always seem to finish around sort of that lower mid-table spots, or sort of the 13th, 14th, 15th, for example. I think they've established themselves now. They've got through that difficult phase of the second season syndrome, and I really think they can now push on and really improve their squad. but they haven't really done that this season. They've made a few signings, but none that I can think of off the top of my head of being really, really good. I hear that Tottenham are maybe in for Lewis Cook as well, so if they lose him, that could be a big blow. Begovic is also getting on quite a bit, and they also don't have Jack Wilshere anymore either. So they could maybe struggle this season, but I think with the experience that a lot of the lads have now got, I think they should be okay for surviving in the Premier League. 13th place, I have got Southampton. Last season they had an absolute shocker. Mauricio Pellegrino really was not the manager that anyone thought that he would be, and they just plummeted down the league. They were in real trouble. Mark Hughes came in. I don't think he saved them from relegation, but I think they just about escaped. And I know that he's a solid enough manager that usually keeps teams like Stoke, for example, in the Premier League. And Southampton, I definitely think, had an anomaly. They've lost Boufal and Tadic, so two of their better players. But I think if the likes of Gabbiadini can finally step up, then they can have a much better season than they did last season. Still not as good as they have been in previous seasons. Obviously, they've got no Van Dijk, no Mane, Tadic, Boufal. They've lost a lot of players from last season. Mane was the season before, but they've lost a lot of key players. But I still think they should be okay to stay in the Premier League. In 12th place, I have gone with Crystal Palace. Now, Frank de Boer had an absolute shocker of a start to the season. He lost all 4 games, didn't score a goal. He was out the door within 4 games. Roy Hodgson came in. And I've always thought with Roy Hodgson that his level is not like top 6 international, because he was terrible at Liverpool and he was terrible for England. But when he comes into lower tier teams like Fulham, for example, and now Crystal Palace, that's his level, I think. He can work with the sort of lower calibre of players and he can make them sort of outperform their roles, which is what he did with Palace last season to get them quite high up the league in the end, where it looked like they were really going to be in trouble after the first sort of 10 games. They almost ended Man City's unbeaten run as well, which I think tells you a lot. If they keep Wilfried Zaha, which it looks like they're probably going to do now with just a couple of days left in the window. I'm recording this on the 8th, by the way. I think they could be in for a good season. Luka Milivojevic, if they get a lot of penalties, he can tuck them away nicely as well. I think he scored about 130 penalties last season against some big teams. But yeah, I think Roy Hodgson is sort of the right man for that Palace job. And if their team can fire properly, Benteke can get firing again. I know he had a very bad season last season, but if he can get firing again, they could be in for a pretty decent season. Now, in 11th place, I have gone with Burnley. I think they did incredibly well to finish 7th last season, but I don't think it was a one-off season. I think they'll still maintain that quality that they had. They've not brought in many players at all. They've just brought in Joe Hart from Man City, which I think he'll be second or third string goalkeepers, Nick Pope. And Tom Heaton, so I don't think he'll be a massive acquisition, but he's still an extra depth in the player, an extra depth in their squad, which they'll need with Europe this season, which could hurt their season. But I still think they've got a solid enough team, they've got a really good structure put in place under Sean Dyche, the Worm Man, and I think they can again challenge that top 10, but again it will be extremely close from probably like 9th to about 15th, so anything can happen really. In 10th place, I have gone with Leicester City. Now this is where I feel a bit dubious. Jamie Vardy, 32 years of age almost now, and he relies almost entirely on his pace. So let's just say I'm interested. About that. Hopefully for them he can keep his goals tally up. I think Claude Puel is a good manager. I think he got shafted out of Southampton after getting some really good league finishes with them and some really good results. Just the style of football isn't that attractive, but if he gets the results, then whatever. They've just lost Riyad Mahrez, of course, and they haven't really brought anyone in. They've got Islam Slimani back from Newcastle, but I'm not sure if he's going to be staying around. In fact, he might have already left on loan or something like that. I'm not too sure. Again, if Jamie Vardy can keep at it, and the likes of Mark Albrighton and that can have a good season again, then I think they can continue to have a good season. And I don't think Harry Maguire will leave, which will be really important for them. In 9th place, I have gone with my final promoted team, Wolverhampton Wanderers. They have done absolute bits in this transfer window, signing the likes of João Moutinho, Roy Patricio. They've got a lot of Portuguese in their squad. They've got Ruben Neves, Diego Jota. You know, they've got a really, really good squad who really, really perform well in the Championship. And I think their owners and their manager, Nuno, they all get on really, really well. You know, they've got a really, really tight linked squad. And the owners seem to have great faith in the club, and they're going to put a lot of investment into it so that they can just improve in the Premier League. And I think they've already got some great, great, great signings. I still think Fulham have won the transfer window, sort of in that midfield battle with the signing of Jean-Michel Seri, but they still have an extremely good window, have Wolves, and I've probably missed loads of players as well that they've signed. Sorry about the door, but next time, the next team who I think will have a good season in the Premier League is West Ham, and I think they'll finish 8th. Manuel Pellegrini, he might not be the best manager, but he is a proven Premier League winner and a proven Premier League manager, so he can't be the worst appointment for them. I actually don't think they were that bad under Moisey, but there was a lot of disturbance at the club at the time, and I think they just needed a fresh face to come in and rejuvenate the fans, and they've spent the money. So hopefully they can have a good season. Felipe Anderson, I think, will be a really, really good acquisition for them. Yeah. I think they'll be okay this season. Next up in 7th place, I have gone with Everton. Now, I'm not sure about that. They could finish sort of 8th. Marco Silva has come in. I'm not sure what I think about him. He did okay at Hull, and then not brilliantly at Wolves. Watford, not Wolves, but he got out the door pretty quick before he had a chance to really make anything work. They just signed Richarlison for £50 million, which I think is a ludicrous amount of money for someone who only performed the first 10 games of the season last year with Watford. But you know, if he can have a good season, then in hindsight, it will look like it's worth it. They've not made that many acquisitions elsewhere. I think Jordan Pickford, having got that World Cup experience, will have a really good season. I think he can really help bolster the Everton defence, which was a bit leaky last season. They've signed Lucas Digne with the I Never Walk Alone tattoo on his chest, which is apparently for his parents. No idea about that, but he's a proven left-back as well. Played several times for Barcelona and PSG. Again, €18 million, so not that much for a left-back in today's money. But that Richarlison deal has given them a lot of width. If Theo Walcott can get back to his previous best, then I think they maybe even have a chance of breaking into the top 6. But 7th or 8th, I think, for Everton. But I'm going to go with 7th, just because that seemed to be where they finished all season. Now, into the top 6. This is normally one of the most controversial places to predict, and also one of the most tricky. But in 6th place, I have gone with Chelsea. I don't think they'll keep Thibaut Courtois now that he's missed training 2 days in a row and has submitted an official transfer request. It seems that they've just paid £72 million for Kepa Arrizabalaga, which I also think is a bit too much for a goalkeeper. I'll get on to more of that later on. But Maurizio Sarri has come in. Following the Community Shield and a lot of the pre-season games, I'm not too optimistic about his steady ball, because he just doesn't have the players that he needs. He's brought in Jorginho for about €40 million, obviously, and I think now Kepa Arrizabalaga for €72 million. But I think he needs more players to make that system work, or at least a lot more time. And I think with the improvements that the other top 6 clubs have made, and the fact that most of them have still got them old managers, I think that if Chelsea get a bad start to the season, I think they'll just be lagging behind the whole time. And I think Maurizio Sarri, if he gets a second season, then he could really challenge if he gets the players on side and gets the players that he really needs. I don't think Eden Hazard will stay, and he might leave in January now. I think Chelsea just need a bit more time under Sarri, but I think they'll finish 6th. And 5th place, I've gone for a bit of a surprise. Maybe I've gone for Manchester United. Jose Mourinho does not look in a happy place at that club. He's moaning at Ed Woodward. He's moaning at the young players. He's moaning at Anthony Martial. You know, he's moaning at Anthony Martial and fining him because he's had a child. You know, he does not look in a happy place right now, and his football, I think, is quite physically demanding on the players, like the training and all that, and the sitting back a lot. So, I just think there might be a big rift in the dressing room maybe halfway through the season, and maybe he'll leave. Again, he hasn't made that many. Ed Woodward hasn't made that many signings. They've signed Fred from Shakhtar Donetsk, and Diego Dalot as well, and obviously Lee Grant as sort of a third choice keeper to De Gea and Romero. But I don't think they'll have too bad a season. They might get a similar points haul to last season, maybe a bit less. But I think they got quite lucky last season, apparently. And Mourinho just doesn't look in a very happy place right from the start. He was moaning about referee decisions in pre-season, and that cannot set you up well for the season. So for me, Manchester United will finish 5th. Now, 4th place, I have gone with Arsenal. I know, they own that 4th place spot. And I think that if they have a really, really good start to the season and Unai Emery can get the players on side and get them going right from the get-go, they can have a really, really good season and maybe challenge for the top 2. And that front line is absolutely incredible. They've got Mesut Ozil, Alexandre Lacazette, Henrik Mkhitaryan, and Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. We know that Lacazette and Ozil will have that link up from Arsenal last season, and that Mkhitaryan and Aubameyang will have that link up from obviously January last season and also from Dortmund as well. And Unai Emery has been proven to be quite a competent manager, especially in the Europa League. So I think Arsenal will challenge for that this season. But again, if that front line can get on the ball, then they could have a really good season. Their midfield is not brilliant. Apparently Aaron Ramsey's linked away from the club, but I don't think he will leave. Mesut Ozil might sort of play in that number 10. Well, he's the number 10, but he might play in sort of that midfield role. They've got Lucas Torreira as well from Uruguay, who was pretty good in the World Cup. He's like a bit of an industrial machine. He's a bit like N'Golo Kante, but he's more attacking and not very good, not as good in tackle or marking. He's basically, I don't know, he's not much like N'Golo Kante. Their defence have brought in Sokratis Papastantopoulos, butchered that definitely, but he can have a good season as well. I think he can sort of help to keep the likes of Mustafi maybe in check. I still think they need one more defensive signing because they brought in Lichtsteiner for Bellerin, but Lichtsteiner's getting on a bit, and I don't think he'll have the industrial output that Arsenal need down that right-hand side. Monreal as well is a bit older, as is Laurent Koscielny and Sokratis. They've got quite an ageing, slower backline. But they can still have a good season. They brought in Bert Leno as well, who is a massive improvement on Petr Cech given last season's stats. So 4th for me is Arsenal. In 3rd place, I have gone with Tottenham Hotspur. Now this is a risk because they've not signed anyone as of yet. They might still sign a few players on deadline day, but I'm not sure. Mauricio Pochettino is a very good manager. I think his style with the players is very good. It's very physically demanding, but it's a very good style as well. I think Harry Kane, if he stays fit, will get 20 to 25 goals. Heung-min Son will get goals. Eriksen will get goals. I think Lloris can have a really good season. I think they might try and really focus on that back line. And if they can get sort of 1 or 2 maybe midfield signings or defensive signings, I think they'll be in a really good position to hold down that 3rd place spot in the league where they seem to finish a couple times. They've definitely finished in the top 4 several times in the past few seasons. But again, if they don't make that many signings and the squad doesn't play as well as Pochettino would have liked from the World Cup and that, especially at the beginning of the season, Harry Kane never seems to turn up in August. But if he can do that, then they'll be on for a good season. But if he can't, and he doesn't really find his form for the whole season, then I can see Spurs finishing maybe 4th or 5th. In 2nd place, I have gone with Liverpool, although they could easily challenge for the title, and I do think they'll run Manchester City close. They've made some very, very good signings. Alisson in goal was a really crucial signing. £67 million is a lot of money for a goalkeeper who's only really had 1 year of experience under his belt in the first team. Obviously, he was back up to Wojciech Szczesny in 2016-17, I think it was. 2016-17, and before that, obviously. So he's had 1 season. It was a very good season. His stats are a lot better than Karius. I think he's got over 30 clean sheets, whereas Karius is sort of around 22, 23. He also makes about 3 saves per game compared to Karius' 2, which is a lot more. Again, there's Van Dijk and Lovren sort of complemented each other well last year. Andy Robertson on the left and Trent Alexander on the right will be good as well. They're still growing. The midfield, they've got Naby Keita and Fabinho. I think Fabinho will take a little bit of time to settle in, but if he does, then he shall be industrial as well. And then that front 3, obviously they'll get a lot of goals. I think this really could be Liverpool's year, but also I don't want to get too optimistic for them because we know how good Manchester City are. And in first place in my Premier League predictions, I have gone with Manchester City. I think they will win back-to-back Premier League titles, although I say Liverpool probably will run them extremely, extremely close and could beat them, just because we know how hard it is to defend that Premier League title. But at the moment, they just seem to be a league above everyone else, really, or 100 points in the Premier League. They finished so far ahead of Manchester United in second place. They had a decent run in the Champions League. Not too great that they won the Carabao Cup as well. Their squad is phenomenal, and they've strengthened even more with Riyad Mahrez. I don't think he'll start, but if there's an injury to Bernardo Silva, Raheem Sterling, or Leroy Sané, he can just slot straight into that role and be very, very effective there. Their team is just incredible. Aguero, and if he's not fit, Gabriel Jesus. The depth and quality that they have is absolutely unbelievable. And the addition of Riyad Mahrez has just strengthened that. Otamendi didn't have a brilliant World Cup, but I think under Pep Guardiola he definitely flourished last season. And, alongside Aymeric Laporte, if he plays centrally, then again he can have a very, very good season. I think Benjamin Mendy's coming back from injury this season. Kyle Walker's still very, very much available to them. They've just got an incredible squad, and I think that they definitely have the quality, especially with Riyad Mahrez added, to push and probably win a second Premier League title in a row. So there you have it, guys. There are my Premier League predictions. Let me know if you agree or disagree in the comments section down below. Leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Probably these predictions seem smart at the moment. They'll probably fail later on down the line. But if you have enjoyed the video, again, don't forget to like, and I shall see you in the next video.